All right. Uh, Jenna, you want to kick us off and sort of MC, maybe point out some highlights, and then we can open up to questions about workflow and everything.
Sure. I just fired up my screen share. Give folks a second to click on it. So the brief history, and you can gesture if I'm getting too weedy, is Cabin, which is a Discord I've been hanging out on. Sometime last fall, I saw that they were going hard at Clarity, so I've been on theirs for a while, just sort of surfing behind them. And so I thought it'd be more fun to click through theirs that's pretty well developed, super fast, before jumping to what we might do. I wanted to point out you can shift-click stuff to open them in a sidebar like Roam does. So there's a home, and also Commits and I played with this on Saturday, so Commits is also able to point in, but you can change anything to, this is like, I think of this as a Notion thing, switching back and forth. A lot of people are doing this now, from Kanban to lists. This is what the roles look like. We have control over this. Probably saw that. Clarity has this interesting thing about wikis. So a lot of what we do on Roam, maybe we'd migrate over here. That's kind of one of the things I've been thinking about. If you watched the Clarity video that Venkatesh linked to, that guy does a nice explanation of how useful these views are, which wasn't immediately obvious to me. So that's worth diving into. And then out of the box, Clarity has this model of the weekly, which to me is a lot like Rome's very opinionated daily page. And Venkat, I want to, based on what you had mentioned, I already turned them off for us. So we can talk about that. Notes, it's a little unclear to me how the relationship between notes and wikis. So, as a group, we would figure something out along those lines. And now this is where we get into the weeds of how they're planning, their future. And these guys are just, they've got a lot of this organizational energy going on. This is, eventually hooking up to bounties and how people get paid and stuff. And then this is what a detailed granular page of, a whole bunch of tasks. The main thing that I caught from the video in Clarity is you can just type a list, select it, and then turn it into tasks. Kind of like GitHub pull requests. Every task ends up with a number. So that I thought that was pretty interesting. And then we get into the weeds of their stuff. So only other thing I thought worth clicking on, if you don't have a link to this already, is this is Clarity's own user manual. I was able to go there, add it to my, let me just throw the link in the doobly-doo over here, in case you hadn't seen it yet. So this is the video I think is nice and short. I sped it up even, but it was good. So if we come back to ours, Venkatesh did some playing, so we've got some stuff going on to at least look at. So I'll pause there. Anybody want to pipe up with any specific questions or interests about what we might look at next, or I'll just hand it back to you, Venkat.
I'll add a couple of comments on sort of my initial thoughts. The page we are looking at right now, it originally said something like cycle 0, cycle 1, or something like that, or season 0, season 1. So they have this notion of seasons and cycles. And a season is whatever the group decides is their planning cycle, I guess. So I just arbitrarily picked the natural season, so spring, summer, fall, winter. I initially wanted to go first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, but that seemed too businessy, so I named them after natural seasons. And cycles are different. Cycles are more like this week, next week. So whatever your sort of routine activity tempo is, so it can be sprints, it can be weeks or something. I'm not yet quite sure if or how we should use cycles, but basically this whole thing has in my opinion, too much scaffolding, and I asked about that on the Clarity Discord, and the founder said something like they're moving to a plugin architecture where you can turn on and off and sort of only use the scaffolding you want. Because I think if you have everything like roadmaps, weekly cycles, seasons, all those things, it might be too much. So for us, I thought since we are not like a regular corporation, and even though we have weekly activities, we don't have like that kind of like high pressure weekly drive to get things done. The main useful planning artifact is probably the roadmap with seasons. So the roadmap, if we have a planning cycle of a year with multiple projects. Oh yeah, a couple of comments on what Jenna is showing now. There's this notion of initiatives. So an initiative would be something like, a Yak Rover or Welcome Squad that's kind of like outside of time and can kind of like go on for indefinitely and does not necessarily have time linked goals. But then you can actually add tasks in a given season or outside of seasons. And if you're adding it within seasons, you can associate it with an initiative. So I've done that for several of these. So you can see in Light, for example, improve the intake form. It says Welcome Squad next to it. So that means when I added it, I associated it with the Welcome Squad initiative. So yeah, that, and let's see, what else did I want to point out? So if you click over to the home, I think I put some, how to use Clarity for Yak Collective. I put down some initial thoughts. Okay, not there. Can you go back, Jen? I think I put some details in. Oh yeah, in Clarity colony integration, I think. Okay, yeah. So since one of the big reasons for using this is to integrate the colony, and one of the big reasons to do that is to make at least a portion of what we do here legible in terms of like tokens and incentives. I thought it would be good if we made it a best practice of whenever we add a task or project here, we always put in a nominal 0.1 XDAI reward. So that since that's a stable coin, that's 10 cents, which means that it's not serious enough for anybody to like get distorted incentive pressure from the actual money, but at the same time we are able to track. And I had some thoughts on like how to do incentive structure. That's another wiki page. A stable coin is one that does not change its value with respect to US dollar, so it's earmarked that. So there's some complicated algorithm. Even though it's a crypto, it'll always be worth $1, or plus or minus 0.001. So XDAI, which we use for colonies, a stable coin. There's others called USDT, Tether. They're all stable coins. So there's a whole bunch of them. And the reason is you can't trade dollars directly on the blockchain. Jenna, can you click on the incentive schedule? The link is right there.
It's funny, it doesn't actually do anything.
I think if you click, once it opens up the box, if you click on the box, it goes to the page itself. It shows a preview. Oh.
I just removed the link apparently.
Okay.
Is there no?
Yeah, this is one of the things I found. It's the leftmost tab, I think. If you click the leftmost tab, it should automatically, the bookmark looking thing on the left. Yeah, if you click that, I think it automatically linked it when I did it.
So there is no undo here.
Oh, it's just a tag. That's I don't know. Well, here, let me do it. Yeah, I tried that on Rush. You're right. Let's just find it again.
Yeah, when I clicked it, once it makes it a tag, it actually went to this page because that's where it populates from. But yeah, this whole linking and backlinking is way more janky than Rome. It's not as smooth and efficient, which is one reason for like main wiki style use cases. I don't know if we would use it. But yeah, this is what I thought we could do just to make the experiment interesting and the numbers meaningful, but not too interesting financially. So ordinary task 0.1. Individual or so individual tasks and something like significant individual milestone task, maybe $1. Collaborative, we'll keep it at 0.1. And I thought for a significant collaborative task, we can make it 42x die, so $42 basically. So I put that as the top level goal of the rover project, is to put a rover on Mars. So if we pull that off, we'll get $42 from somewhere. So
That doesn't even cover the phone expenses.
that's the point. So until we figure out how we think about incentives and how they distort our motivation and stuff, we still want the advantages of tracking with numbers. So it's clear, like, for example, relative proportions will become clear. If somebody's doing a lot of volunteer work and deserves recognition, it'll show up in the numbers relative to somebody who's doing very little. But at the same time, the money itself won't be significant. It's just kind of a signal in case we want to do something with the signal.
And right now, you don't think there's like a relation between XDAI and YakG or anything?
So that's something we should talk about. I think Kamit's brought this up.
Okay.
We probably don't want to use incentive tokens and governance tokens interchangeably. So what we can do from here is, I believe we can export. Like if we do like a month of work and everybody's owned a certain amount of XDAI for completed work, we can export that as a spreadsheet, import that into Colony, and actually pay people. Something like that is possible, I believe. I haven't yet explored it. But I think what we want to do is, you want to pay people for work or tasks using something like pennies in XDAI, but governance tokens should be used differently, as in awarded for actually participating in governance. So that's getting a YakG is more like you're elected member of parliament, whereas getting 1 XDAI means you did some work for us. So Kamits, do you want to speak to that since you brought up that point? I think it's a good point, and we should do something like that.
Sure. I don't have any like hard and fast rules or heuristics for it. But I think basically just kind of mirroring what Venkatesh said, I think it's nice to have like governance slightly detached from price fluctuation. So like in this kind of incentive schedule, with the XDAI, there's like a stable coin, but I could imagine, eventually creating some type of Yak buck, or whatever we want to call that, and then that would have like a floating price, and so like the kind of like the culture that's built around the work is sort of has the ability to be reflected in the price in a way that a stable coin isn't. But then like there are other mechanisms within the community for like giving people like governance rights, and I think just having those two separated might avoid some of the kinds of like issues of plutocracy that kind of tend to come up with token-based voting. Also, like, I mean, it would be great if we were able to find someone from like the token engineering commons or somewhere else that like has a background in token economics, and to just kind of give like a presentation on like what are like the kind of like considerations that like people who are going through this process might want to like actually track. I think that would be a really great session for a future date.
So since you just thought of that, and that's a good example, maybe we can actually add that to the roadmap as a task for spring session. So Jenna, if you want to do that, you can, or yeah. So if you add it in spring under DAOification, yeah, just a task saying session on tokenomics or something. Not that the token gate is a separate task I've assigned myself.
So is it plus this adds a task?
Yes, that adds a task. So you would just call it conduct a session on tokenomics.
Yeah, because it does seem like, I guess from what you're talking about, Kamits, where you need a separate set of tasks to get YakG and then consequently reputation. Is it like a completely, and I guess we can do more research on this, but like it might be interesting for now that we just do it attendance based, almost like if you show up, you're gaining reputation with the other Yaks. So that could be a separate path, right? You can do tasks that help everyone, and then you get XDAI as incentives, or you get the incentive token. But the more you show up and the more you participate with stuff, the more reputation you have with the group. Just as a thought.
Yeah, well, I think there's like maybe like three things there. One is like there's like the proof of attendance protocol. And so like we could experiment with like those popes, and then like once you've like collected a certain amount of them, then you can like transfer them or exchange them for Yak-G. And so like once we kind of have like a sense for that, we can then make a proposal in Colony and we can all vote on it. And I also like this idea of like, that's basically what like the separation between like a kind of free floating currency and like a governance token is that there's like different pathways into engagement with the community. This is something that in the very like still nascent discussions about the blockchain lexicon, we've been talking about the idea that like there's maybe like a kind of like way of having like a writing or like a linguistic pathway into communities, and like that, like, you know, minting or engaging with these lexical tokens, however they take shape, like would be like another pathway into engaging with the community. So I mean, obviously, like I think it's important to, this is why I think like having someone who's like good at like systems thinking from like a tokenomics perspective would be useful, because I think it could easily like get over complicated. But I do think there's like an interesting route there with having these different avenues into participation.
Yeah, and like since part of it is exploring the different pathways, just aligning on how to get governance and reputation be a cool thing for us to explore pretty early too.
So a couple of comments that, before I make my comment, I see Jenna's clicking around trying to do something here. Jenna, when in the sample tasks I created, when I had two collaborators, I just made it 0.2x die and then made it 50-50 if I didn't know who would actually be doing more work or whatever.
Yeah, I want your math up on the right so that we could then play with this. So this is like almost a way to spin up a mini committee, right? Like, would anyone else on the call right now like to be added? And then we play with how to do that. And so this, you were thinking of, sorry, so since I was a little distracted, make that 2?
Yeah, I was thinking 0.1 per contributor since it becomes a collaborative project. But here, by the way, you kind of like unilaterally assigned commits as the doer and me as the collaborator. But you can also actually leave the task.
I just want to point this out, that the pattern does ask for who's the lead. And I think that's
you don't actually have to assign anything. People can self-assign. That's the point I was making. So you can just define the task and leave it unassigned, and then it shows up in the contributions list. So if you try that right now, like just take off that and make it unassigned.
Sure. So we were playing with, you know, doing it on the making a decision for this project right now.
Oh, okay. No, I was just, the reason I'm pointing it out is to just demonstrate it. So if you show it up on contributions now, I think it'll actually show up as a task that's up for grabs.
Yeah.
So the people can claim that if they want. So just something I wanted to.
Yeah, here's the set of unclaims, right?
Yep. It hasn't yet shown up.
One thing I'm missing here, for some reason, I'm not able to create tasks or do any add notes.
I think you might have to go to roles first, and then I just did this where I could just give myself editor and commenter permissions.
Mayor, were new enough that you just hadn't been assigned anything yet.
I'm an editor. I wanted to write a note. I wanted to try out what you're doing now.
You weren't an editor? I just made you an editor. You might need to refresh your screen.
No, now I'm an editor, I see.
I'm just saying.
I do want to just point out that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I think I was going.
Yeah, you can self-assign these. Like, I think the only 3 you can't do is admin, reviewer, and pair. But editor and commenter are like fair game for anyone that gets invited to our base, from what I saw anyway.
Yeah, so that's a setting in base, and I think I turned on editor and commenter as self-assignable. And in fact, you can make everything self-assignable if you so chose. But I thought that would be a little unsafe this early, because there are problems in this space of like people just spammers just joining and doing things. So you do want some gatekeeping at the top, I think. So Jenna, I think, assigned a bunch of us to be admins.
Right. And I wanted to just say, should everybody on the call today be admin? Or do people want to, does anyone want to opt out of that?
I think anybody we've known for a while and trust can be trusted with admin. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm fine being a reviewer. I don't need to be admin since I haven't been around for that long.
This is the one we don't know. Should we delete this person? That's interesting.
That might be. That looks familiar. That might be somebody we know. I mean, leave them in for now. It might be Brian. I don't know. But let's see. There's something else I wanted to say. Oh yeah, just keep in mind, by the way, that if we do...
That's Sashin, by the way.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm starting to recognize names.
Dad.
Something to look ahead to, by the way, is this is a paid product if you go beyond certain limits, and the payment schedule, I believe, is per user or something. So it's $10 per member per month. Yeah, the one Jenna is showing. So we have to be careful. This would be expensive, so we'd have to be careful to stay below the free limit.
Whoa.
So what is a block?
Like Notion or Roam. There, everybody's using
that.
that.
Okay, the block, statement block. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if I just created a task, that's a block?
I think so.
If I assign it to myself, that's another block?
I think so.
It says 118 blocks have been used, so we can't keep track of this. So it'll be.
Yeah, we've used up most of it,
Oh no! Look at Jenna's screen. Tasks and blocks are differently counted. We've used 118 of 500 blocks and 20 of 50 tasks and projects. So we can use up to 50 task or project items and up to 500 blocks per month. It resets on March 1st.
Yeah, but somebody was asking about using this instead of Roam. Imagine if Roam gave you 500 blocks a month.
Yeah, so we wouldn't do that. So we would keep Roam, I think, for like basically archival content. And here we would use only like operational stuff, like, how to do incentives or something like that, like very immediately required stuff, maybe. Oh, one more point I wanted to flag before we move on to Colony.
A task is also a block. I created a task. That's a task and a block.
Oh, okay. So it counts towards both. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Let me see if this increments. Now you've got me curious.
Yeah, I gotta say, this pricing thing is definitely like a bit of a flag.
It didn't add to the blocks. It added to the tasks. Is what it looked like. Does somebody want to add one more?
I'll add another task.
And somebody add oh no, don't. We want to have a good test.
Well, it didn't change anything yet. It was 118 and 20 before, right?
Added another task.
Okay, now.
Oh yeah, it went to 119 now.
Okay.
I didn't refresh. It incremented itself that time. That's interesting.
Okay.
See, it'd be easy to spin up past that number, wouldn't it? Although if we stay in our slow mode, 10-year mode, maybe that's a nice constraint. Nobody can do too much any given month.
I feel like it's kind of a disincentive to experimentation, which is, I don't know. That for me is like the primary concern that I'm seeing with this pricing.
So one of the thoughts I had is one way we can stay below the limit is to basically appoint a bunch of people to be effectively Clarity project managers. So this can be a role in Discord. And that way we stay below the number of users. No, actually they have no user limit, right? So we can no, it is $10 per user per month. But yeah, we can kind of like try and like delegate Clarity actions to a few people and stay below the limit. They seem to be on the
which is
free
May-
tier.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe because they got in early, they're grandfathered or one of those deals.
Maybe we can ask, if we can get 3 months free experimentation.
Maybe it rolls
Unless-
over, does it?
It resets. It says it resets.
Okay.
But if we ask them for 3 months experimentation,
Yeah, they'll probably give us that, but we still have to plan long term. And if their business model is a user-based billing, then we kind of have to plan around that or not use the product. So we'll ask about that. And all right.
You have their
But
cat.
for now, I think we can stay below even without like getting any special treatment. It doesn't look like we'll hit the limit easily.
So that decides the wiki part, right? Evaluate.
Or partitioning between the two. So shall we switch over to discussing Colony a little bit now?
That's too bad.
So quick comment as we make the transition. The one thought I had about governance tokens like YakG is they're effectively like shares of stock. So one of the uses you can actually use them, which will become contentious if lots of money is involved, is they become the basis for determining any quote unquote profit sharing. So right now, for example, we are about to publish the NFT, and 25% of the NFT income will go to the Yak treasury. Sorry. And if it turns out that this is a very popular NFT and a lot of people buy it and we end up with thousands of dollars in the treasury, question will be what to do with it. And the first thing, of course, will be to reimburse people for any expenses they've done on behalf of the Yak Collective, like, pay for services and things like that. But then after, let's say after reimbursements, there's like $5,000 left in the end of December. And one of the things we could do is just, declare a dividend that's allocated based on like YakG holdings. So that's one way to use it, like treat it like stock. But okay. So let's see.
If people haven't seen it before, this is what the mirror dashboard looks like. Blah, blah, blah. Back to Colony.
Okay, so Colony, I think, has everybody had a chance to like click around and explore the interface, or is anybody new to Colony completely? All right.
I'm new and I need some XDAI, but I won't
Okay.
hold up.
I'll send you some XDAI. But in the meantime, yeah, I think several of us have experienced some of the workflows. So the basic idea is, Jenna, can you show the wallet of YakG and showing the activated versus the 4.999 thing? If you click that on the top right. Yeah, so if you see it here, once you get some YakG, it'll show you how much is activated versus inactive. So activated means basically you put it in a sort of escrow where it can be used to back motions. And then when you actually back a motion, like, somebody wants to pay somebody, you'll actually have to stake it. And to do that, you have to have some of your YakG activated. And it'll, Jenna was pointing out that we kind of don't yet know what the formula is for how much the stake is, but it seems to pre-compute. Like, Jenna, can you show that actually? Like, create a motion of some sort?
Just before I click away, because it was confusing for a lot of us, Brian, when you first get your 5G, they'll be here in inactive. And you do this. You click on max and it'll populate that number for you and then confirm. We'll activate and then you'll go through, I think it was 3 different MetaMask pings. Because that confused a bunch of us. And that's why my active now shows this. Where it starts off, that will be 0 for you. So yeah, what would you like me to click on, Venkat? Happy to.
Create a sample motion. So let's see what a good example might be. That's actually, the task we just created in Clarity for run a session on tokenomics. maybe create that. Like,
Yeah, that's right. Anuraj and I took us a long time to figure out how to even start. Well, look, Anu, it passed.
Yeah, but there was an
Yeah,
objection from Mayor, so I was
and I didn't lose any money.
yeah, so I didn't
I
understand how it passed.
I actually don't know who not incentivized is. Are
because
you on the
that
call?
that's Mayor. Yeah, Mayor, you should set your display name to be a real name so we know who you are. So that's
okay.
somewhere in your profile.
So you created
Yeah,
a
yeah.
motion. He backed the motion. He backed the motion. Then I backed it. It's fully staked. So your objection somehow didn't go through. Is that what we're saying?
Maybe enough people didn't
No
vote
money
for
either.
the objection.
So how is the voting counted? It's like 51% or something.
Oh, wait, didn't it say somewhere that once you vote, you actually have to reveal your vote in order for it to count?
I think there was a separate step. Yeah.
Can we look at the other motion that we tried to make fail, like the corruption
Right.
one? Did that pass or fail?
Giving Jenna here failed.
Good. Yeah, that's what we were trying to make it fail. So that I posted it and commits objected, and 2 people. Did anybody vote for it? I didn't reveal vote.
Oh yeah, I thought a lot of us had voted against it.
Yeah, I think that these questions have to do with not coming back to like do something, right? Where it is a little unclear. Voting is secret, weighted by reputation. Yeah, and then the voting period was done when Anuraj and I tried to play here last week, and Mary, right, you two also missed the window. By the way, Venkatesh, you didn't when you posted that there's a vote going on, just as a best practice, since apparently we can't control it right now, it's always a 3-day voting period. When you post something on the Discord, you should say voting is open until X, fill in the date. That there were 3 of us who came over too late.
So why is it 3 days? It's just random.
I think it's they've just set it as a parameter on the software, so we can't control that, I believe.
Right.
Unless I can
I'm
see it.
curious about that. Has anyone tried to finalize that before?
Should we do it now?
I think the stake comes back to the active. Probably we can try. Not this one. If it passes, I think the stakes come through. Come back to the active part.
And will Venkatesh lose his stake because
I should, right? Or at least part of the stake. So
it's
it
costly, right, to lose a vote. It's meant to be, right?
Yeah, and you lose reputation as well. And I think reputation and Yak holdings start to diverge. So if you consistently back losing motions, you'll lose reputation, even if you have a lot of Yak or something like that. So
I'm a simple case. I only did one thing. Okay. And I didn't lose. I objected. I failed. I still have 4.99999 Yak G and 6.65% reputation. So there's some information here.
So 0.01 reputation lost, right?
No. We all started with 6.65.
No.
Didn't we?
I think it was 6.66, no?
Well, the reputation of us.
I don't think it was that straightforward because I think the only reason we all have reputation is a 5 Yak transfer. So I have 6.64.
So I gained reputation.
You probably just didn't lose reputation.
Can somebody go to the, or whoever is sharing, go to the members list directory and you can actually see a list of how much reputation everybody has. So just go to the members list. Brian, I sent you 0.5x die.
I have 6.65. I can't see anybody's. Oh, neither can you.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
Wait, what? Hold on.
Everyone who's on the call, see if you're around
Okay,
6.66.
now it's
Oh,
there.
there, just populated. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes
Okay,
a minute to populate.
It's
so you see
interesting.
Nathan, who also didn't do anything, also has 6.65.
So Matthew Stanley, hi, are you on the call today? For some reason, a little bit higher, but everybody else is lurking in the same
6.6.
range.
It
Even
could
you,
be that
Venkat.
people who voted and have lost reputation. I've done a lot, so I should have more. The admin account has done the most, and it also holds 15 Yak, so it has the most reputation as well.
Patrick's goosed his by a little bit. Patrick, what'd you do? I'm not sure he's here today.
He is, but he's muted.
Yeah, I couldn't say.
So this looks like a task we should put on Clarity, like somebody investigate this reputation mechanism and explain it to the rest of us.
Right. Does Colony have a beautiful help doc that we just haven't found yet?
The white paper kind of explained it. It's on my to-do list to read. It would be nice if somebody did all the reading. But okay, so the workflow is create a motion, stake it, voting period starts, objection period starts, and this revealing thing is a little bit annoying. If it's true, it means people have to come back and sort of reveal their vote for it to count. That's weird, but it does force extra commitment.
It's incentive based. So they want to incentivize you to do stuff.
The other thing, let's go take a look. The Colony's own colony, the tempo had slowed way down when we checked it a little while ago. Was that 2 weeks ago? Yeah, they haven't had any action since December 23rd on their own colony, which I thought was interesting. I mean, obviously they took off for the holidays, but it hasn't reactivated yet unless they just change permissions. Am I not seeing something? Or look at that, almost 8,000 members. Whoa.
They don't have any colony left. They gave 6 million to one and 7 million to another.
They also didn't create a bunch of teams.
Well, if you look at their blog, they have a breakdown of the actual outstanding colony tokens, what the allocation is. So I think the original team basically still has a controlling interest. So if this were a board, it would be controlled by Jack and the few core members. They hold a lot of Yak colony. All right, let's see. Oh, I sent some colony to our own treasury, so we have a little bit. So we hold XDAI, wrapped Ether, and colony as well as Yak. So we have enough to do like actually XDAI payments for Clarity tasks.
Mika, do you have the one sentence what wrapped does to ETH?
So Ether itself is not an ERC20 token. So if you want to trade Ethereum like it's an ERC20 token, you wrap it in a contract, and then it becomes a token on its own network. And the reason you want to do that is if you want to do the swaps that you use in DeFi, so like, go to Uniswap or SushiSwap or whatever and swap Ether for other tokens, you typically use wrapped Ether because that way it's a low-cost ERC20 transaction. It's basically the same thing. It's like, it's like a gift card version of Ether. Oh, and it can also, since it's an ERC20 token, it can also be bridged over to any EVM compatible sidechain or L2, by which I mean something that runs the same computational engine as at Ethereum. So Gnosis is one of them. It runs an EVM, so it can handle ERC20. So any ERC20 token can live on both chains. You can move them back and forth.
Wait, that's important. I just read that you send Ethereum to the contract to wrap it, but if you send wrapped Ethereum to the contract, it disappears.
So there's a couple of things going on. So there's wrapped Ethereum as it's used within Ethereum. So for example, OpenSea sends you NFT earnings in wrapped Ethereum, and that you can wrap and unwrap by just going to OpenSea. But when you're using wrapped Ethereum as a bridging mechanism, yes. So what happens is on Ethereum, you would lock up, say, 1 Ethereum in the bridge contract, and it would release 1 wrapped Ethereum on the Gnosis side. And then when you go back the other way, it burns the wrapped Ethereum, but unlocks the Ethereum on the Ethereum side. So basically what happens is you put the Ethereum in escrow and float the wrapped Ethereum. So back and forth. So I can demonstrate that in a future call if people are interested. You use there's 2 bridges. There's an XDAI bridge for doing just XDAI, and then there's something called Omni Bridge for doing ERC20. So that's how I moved some across. I'll take that as a clarity task to do for explain bridging. All right. So
back to this. By the way, you come in here, there's no make a motion button, and that we think that the way you start a new one, correct me if I'm wrong, Venkatesh, is you have to go here. Everything starts with an expenditure.
Expenditure or advanced actions, if you want to assign like permissions to somebody or something, that also creates a motion. So for example, if you want to say manage permissions and give, I don't know, Patrick admin responsibilities in the publishing group, you can just try that. It'll go as a motion. So let's create one while we have people. So that's you creating.
Oh, I see. Leave that alone. And leave that alone, probably.
Let's see. No, that is the person you want to give permissions to. So yeah,
okay. Yep, I gotcha.
So maybe somebody like Patrick who might not have it, and give them permission on you have to choose the team, so publishing or something, I think.
Welcome squad committee is infrastructure, maybe, rather than making up another one.
Sure. And yeah, give them
Clarity, it's a separate team.
Right. I don't think we want to keep spinning up new teams over here. That's something we can all think about.
I agree with Jenna. Like Colony seems like mainly a transactional clearinghouse, so things that come under the same rough budget should probably be the same team. So if you confirm this, it should create a motion to do that, and then that'll go up for vote.
Oh, is that because we turned on that extension? Everything goes into, if I don't force.
Exactly. Everything, if you don't force, everything becomes a motion. So, and you can only force a motion for things where you're admin. So, those of us who are admin in root can force any motion, but those who are admin in like, say, publishing or something, yeah, it'll take a minute. Yeah, if you're admin in something else, you should there and. Oh, for those who haven't done this before, it is slow. Yeah, there we go. It's taking a minute to come up.
Yeah,
pop up a signature.
Yeah. And is this my penny of XDAI? Not that I care.
Yes, this is your penny. So whoever is doing this, all money comes from your personal wallet for signing transactions and stuff.
Can someone help me understand where we can review motions that have been passed and failed?
So this I asked in the Colony Discord, and apparently it's a design decision to make them kind of hard to find, because apparently the reason is there's a lot of spammers who are going to come in and just create motions. So unless it's staked, it won't show up in the action stream. So if it's staked to like 10% or whatever the limit is, it'll show up in the action stream while it's the staking workflow that Jenna is going through right now. Once it's staked to minimum 10%, it should show up in the action stream, and any results and stuff will show up there as well. But I don't think there's a consolidated tab for all motions. And I suggested it to them, and they may or may not implement as a feature.
Yeah, the reason I ask is, when I click on my token balance, I see that I have a certain amount that's active and a certain amount that is staked. And it says that I have tokens staked in processes which must conclude before they can be deactivated. And so I'm wanting to go to that transaction with the motion that you had me object to, and see if there's a way of concluding that in order to get the staked. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't know how to do that, to be honest. Yeah. But
Anuraj and I made fun of their CSS, yes, the last time we played. See how it can't handle a narrow, anything like slightly narrow. This white space on the left is kind of dumb.
So I'm hoping this will be automatic and it'll just come back.
Is it just choking? Am I waiting? Is it waiting for me to do something? I do find the world sometimes makes this pop open and sometimes it's seems to be unable to. The MetaMask pop down.
Yeah.
It's like it went through, so it's probably just slow. And commits, was there something here that was worth clicking on to see, to go back to your question about, all the motions, or is it just scanning the events for past, things like past?
I mean, you might click on your balance next to your address at the top and see if it shows whether or not you have any YAK that is currently being staked. And the question,
we haven't finished accepting this one, which we could do together while we're waiting for this. What was the word they used? Finalize.
Finalize.
Yes. Should we go ahead and do that while we're waiting?
Oh yeah, do that. I didn't even see that workflow. So there's a finalized workflow by whoever started it.
Right. I think that's the only way that Anuraj and I will get our stakes taken or back, right?
I see. I'm seeing finalize on my failed motion. So I'm going to finalize that too.
Okay. So I'll go ahead. Let's see what it picks up.
So that's kind of interesting. So I wonder if anybody with permissions can finalize.
I would do this from I'm using Brave for our colony dot.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is generally that once like something has been like voted on, anyone can finalize it. Like this is where like the kind of like confusion between like autonomous and automatic comes up. Like someone still needs to execute on the transaction, but as long as it's been like voted on, anyone can execute it. So that's my understanding.
Whoever does that will have to pay the ETH, which is not non-trivial.
Yes. Oh wait, this is it'll pay XDAI, not Ethereum. And
it wanted. No, I guess maybe I'm wrong. I thought it.
I just finalized the failed motion. Yeah, this is XDAI.
Oh, all right. Then I get confused because that happens to me.
Okay.
More pennies of XDAI. Yep, that's fine.
And once you do that and it's finalized, it shows up as claim token. So whoever staked it can claim it back. So I think that's explicit. So if you once let this close, and then you'll see a claim button will. Oh yeah, see that? Claim.
Yeah.
So now you can claim it.
Well, Anuraj, you can try it too.
Okay, so where do I find that like basically if I want to claim, where do I do that? Like how do I find that transaction with the motion?
Oh,
that's a good question. We should ask. It should show up in your notifications or something, hopefully. So I'm claiming mine back.
Notifications.
I have a penalty.
Yes, because you lost.
Can I share my screen for a second so you can see my penalty?
Yep.
Where?
So you can see in the upper right corner.
Okay, so you stake point. Okay, yeah, and you're losing it basically.
And now I'm gonna claim.
And you're losing 10% of it. You're not losing all of it. You're losing 10% of the stake. I think it might be based on how the voting went. Like voting percentage might determine how much of the stake you actually lose.
Okay, so where do I see? I lost Yak G, right? Oh,
Oh, it came back.
oh,
There you go. Nice.
no, I'm sorry. I made
You
a
got
profit.
more.
You made a profit.
Nice. So now your reputation should eventually change, and your percentage reputation number should also go up in the next reputation mining, because that's a delay there. It doesn't happen instantly. There's a reputation mining network.
Yeah,
I
but
don't.
I see that Jenna made more money than I did.
I'm
Yeah,
still
I
confused.
have
I staked
5.3
something and I
now.
ended up making money. I thought I was just going to get my stake back, but it looks like I got it plus some because now I'm over
That's because
5.
the people who lost will lose money, and you'll get a portion of what they lost.
Oh, of course. I think I did hear that go by.
But who lost money? I didn't lose money.
I think I
I'm the
also
only
have
one
more
who.
money now. Maybe because, oh wait, I might have won some money on some motion and lost it on the one I backed that lost.
So you're saying it's actually two transactions that I saw. One is that I made a profit on a transaction you did, which I didn't put a stake in, and one is that I lost money on a transaction that I objected to.
Possibly something like that happened. So again, this is why we need a session on the whole. So I'm going to add that task. Somebody want to claim it, you can. So on the roadmap, I'll add it to the DAOification initiative. I'll add a task.
And by the way, eventually this would have happened automatically, probably, but for now, it's just approval to move to give RNS some Yak G, right?
The activation means you kind of like approve it for staking, and then each time you stake, some of it is locked up.
I was able to find the transaction. It was just in the literally like in like the home feed. Just wasn't really intuitive to locate.
Do you mean this feed?
Sorry, I'm not looking at your screen.
Oh, so yeah, the main actions.
Yes,
Yeah.
that one. Yeah, the one that you're hovering over. In fact, that's the one that I was looking for.
All right, you objected, but you won. So did you just make some money? Quote unquote.
Yes.
So who lost money? Because I also made money. There's something weird going on. Like somebody has to have lost money overall.
I looked at the overall number of Yak G. It doesn't seem to have changed.
It
Still,
wouldn't, because the money is in the treasuries.
Yeah, the amount that you staked, Venkatesh, 0.64658, I received that, and so I now have that in my, like that went into my balance. Are you sure that you didn't lose that amount? Like, have you refreshed since?
Okay, let me check. Mine says 5.64 as well. Hold on, let me refresh. It could be that I might have voted on something else and forgot and made some money on Ocean. One claim did everything. But yeah, I have 5.64658 Yak G.
Interesting.
But I still have 1.7 staked, so there's ones that I haven't claimed, I guess.
Yeah, that's weird for me as well, because like my overall Yak G total went up, but I still have the amount that I staked like listed as being staked. It's just that the active amount went up. So this is also another point of confusion.
Okay, so yeah, this all needs to be explained by somebody.
Yeah, the stake part doesn't go back to the active part.
No, at least not yet.
It does, but it doesn't go off the staked part. So the active part.
Oh, so you think they might just be doing the arithmetic slowly? Like in the next update, they'll reduce the stake part, and then the total will go down to the right number.
Possibly.
So everybody watch your balances and see how it changes. Because this is weird.
Hover over the word staked. I think that answers the question. Hover with your mouse, yeah. Right.
Well, we did conclude them, so we're
Well,
wondering.
maybe it
Oh.
isn't totally concluded. Maybe like someone claiming. I wonder if everyone needs to claim in order for something to be concluded.
Oh, interesting.
I claimed my part.
Okay, I'm claiming some of mine.
Let's see who
Yeah,
else.
there's also still Hacker Mom, and I don't know if Jenna or Meyer finished claiming for this one.
I
But
finished.
what happens if somebody just drops out and there's just stuff left unclaimed? Is it like lost?
That would suck.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if there's a way to like force the
Actually,
the
Hacker Mom's not on
conclusion.
this commits. I'm sorry to interrupt, but is there anybody who's here? I think everybody here on this motion is here today. If Patrick's still hanging around, but
I think,
muted.
yeah, so only Mayor objected and then two of us staked in. So both of
Commenting
us,
doesn't hopefully
yeah.
doesn't matter. Okay.
Okay. It seems like I can claim multiple times or something.
Where can we see that something was not claimed yet?
Well, that's a good question. Let's go look at the one that's got Hacker Mom, since she's not here today. No, that wasn't it. It was.
In any case, it wasn't finalized yet. It just says maybe finalized. I think we have to finalize it.
Is it the job of the person who initiated the motion in order to like completely settle out the motion?
I don't think it can be. I think anybody with the right permissions should be able to finalize and close. I happen to have root permissions, so I was able to do it, so I couldn't tell the difference. But I think anybody with root or the right permission should be able to do it.
But where's the button that you finalize?
It shows up once a motion is closed and the vote has settled. A finalize button shows up.
So the place where you see the claim button, it's finalized before it becomes claim.
Yep.
Right. So it was finalized, and then I claimed, Jenna claimed. Did Meyer claim?
Yes, I claimed.
Okay.
But why are you saying it was finalized? It says that it passed and may be finalized.
This button, Mayor, used to say finalized, and now it's gone because we finalized it.
But
This
when I
place-
look at the list of transactions, it doesn't say finalized. It just says passed.
Do you see
That-
Venkat's comment?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Meyer's point is that like like there's
Oh,
above Venkat's comment, like it says motion has failed and may be finalized. There's no like
The bot
like,
hasn't
there's-
chimed in.
Yeah.
The bot hasn't
Yeah, I don't-
agreed yet. Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know if it's a bot. I think it's just the smart contract.
Well,
No, but-
something under the hood. Yeah.
But
One of
did it
these
say
automatic posters.
finalized before the word claim? If it did, so I guess we told it to finalize. So why did it give me
This, I think, is
the
just a matter of like slow batch updates or something that they do. But some of this is genuinely ambiguous, and we need to ask questions, I guess.
My reputation hasn't recalculated. Are people seeing any math
Yeah.
going on up there?
No, it's the same, the dash dash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'll take a while. Like I mentioned, the reputation mining, separate kind of like blockchain mining process going on in the background.
Yep.
I see that you have 6.66 in the member list.
Okay,
What
so
it
we are 5 minutes past the hour, so we should probably start to wrap now. So in terms of action items, I suggest everybody take a shot at maybe defining and self-assigning a task in Clarity, and in particular, like explaining the reputation mechanism. If somebody wants to volunteer for that, that would be good.
We discovered this. You can just click on that and the little person and assign it to yourself.
Okay, so let's sign off for today and continue the conversation in Discord and think about what to do with now that we have basic orientation here.
May I make a change? Like we can just change these things, right?
Yeah. Anybody with the right permissions can change anything.
I was part of the last time we tried, we did a hard press on what that intake form should be sometime in the fall, probably. So I don't want to say improve. I want to just say revise, like the next revision. Because if you ask 12 people their opinion about what the form should be, you'll get 12 very different answers, I suspect. So I don't know how Clarity's going to help us do that, right? Other than just saying whoever takes it on gets a lot of autonomy. Is that what we're mostly gonna go with, right?
Yeah, and I think the tools are designed to kind of like encourage that. So like optimistic consensus, if nobody objects, things go through, that kind of philosophy. For me, it's not just Colony, but Clarity, I think. So if you have the right permissions, you can just define and assign yourself a task and do it. And unless somebody objects, it happens.
Although in this case, they'll have to pass it to me or Nathan to edit the form itself. We haven't added, you can't add lots of people to the NAC account itself.
And yeah, reviewer, I think only admins can self-assign, not everybody can. Oh yeah, so some of them that require executive action beyond payment, there's no point just doing like, intake form revision if nobody implements the intake form. All right, so any closing thoughts?
Not today, but is it automatic that money, those pennies will go, do their thing? Or is that a task itself that we have to?
I think there's a payer role. So once a task is marked ready for payment, so if you go to a task, you'll see it can be marked ready for payment. Then somebody with payment authority can approve it. And then I think it will end up in the, somewhere I saw it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the ready for payment. Oh, I see. You click in and there's a toggle. Got it.
Yep. And once you do that, somebody with the right authority can approve the payment, then it goes into the spreadsheet, and then it can probably go to Colony for payment or something. So we'll have to like go through the workflow at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Do we want today's session on YouTube?
this session,
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
All public anyways.
Yeah.
Right. That's the thing about all this, isn't it? Mm-hmm.
And how do we see how much? How can I see how many blocks we have left on the Clarity?
If you look at, on the bottom, the base, the gear icon, I don't know if you can see it, but all the admins can.
I could see cabins. So I think you will, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Kind
I
of funny,
see.
right? Mm-hmm.
Okay, 120 blocks. Okay.
Oh, I didn't mean to do that.
All right. So let's see who's on for next week. We have somebody for next week. Oh, next week is supposed to be Meredith, Hacker Mom. So I'm not sure what she'll be talking about, but